for
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable member for Northumberland Clark.
Israel has a right to defend itself, including by disarming Tehran's nuclear program. We should all hope that this is the end of the regime's nuclear program and that the great Persian people can now rise up to reclaim their country from this totalitarian regime. Sadly, anti-Semitism has been on the rise here in Canada. Can the government please tell us the extra steps that they will take to protect Canada's Jewish community from anti-Semites who might use the recent events as an excuse for violence?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for the question. It's important on two fronts. It's important to remember always that Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to continue to make sure that it is safe and secure. At the same time, this government is committed to take action against the scourge that is anti-Semitism every day in our world. We will continue to stand up and defend Jews in this community to make sure they're safe. Thank you.
The member for Northumberland Clark.
In the Auditor General's scathing report on Tuesday, we learned the Liberals failed to put in place the necessary safety, procedures and controls to safeguard Canadian taxpayer dollars. The result? $64 million to ArriveScan's primary contractor, GC Strategies. Canadians work so hard for their money, Mr. Speaker. When will that money be returned? Will everyone in this House vote with Conservatives to get Canadians' money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we thank the Auditor General for her work. Obviously, we can all agree in this House that misconduct of any kind in our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. It's notable that we've terminated all contracts and suspended security clearance for GC Strategies. An investigation and assessment were undertaken, and GC Strategies was deemed ineligible from receiving government contracts for 7 years. This matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal matter is ongoing.
Member for Northumberland Clark.
We hear those same talking points over and over again. However, the only guarantee that we can have that taxpayer dollars will actually be protected is a change in leadership. Liberals keep getting rich, Canadians keep getting the tax bill, and why on all heavens was the ministers promoted instead of fired?
Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I know all of us can agree in this House that misconduct of any kind in our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. That's why our government has acted on this matter. An investigation was undertaken by OSIC. The company in question has been deemed ineligible for receiving any federal government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing.
The Deputy de Beauce.
The honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, this week the Auditor General released a scathing report on ArriveCan's primary contractor, GC Strategies. This company, with only 2 employees and currently under investigation by the RCMP, got a staggering $64 million from the Liberals. And worse, we don't even know if they did any work. The Conservatives have introduced a motion to ban this company for life. Will all members of this House vote to get Canadian taxpayers' money back?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to repeat this as many times as the members opposite would like me to. Our government has taken a firm stance on this matter and said that any misconduct of any kind within our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. We have made improvements in the integrity of the system based on the Auditor General's report and recommendations. We've made sure that GC Strategies cannot no longer receive any government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP for legal action.
The honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, we're asking for a lifetime ban, not 7 years. The budget was $80,000 and the actual cost was $64 million, paid to only 2 people. That's 800 times the budget. It makes no sense. It's the taxpayers of Beauce and Canada who have been stuck with the bill. Why, with the Liberals, are politicians rewarded instead of being punished? The Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I know that all of us in this House can agree on one thing, which is that the integrity of our procurement processes is of utmost importance. It's taxpayers' money that's in question, and we take that matter very seriously. We have conducted an investigation through the Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance. They deemed GC Strategies as ineligible to receive any federal government contracts for 7 years, and we referred this matter to the RCMP for legal action.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Another question with no real answer. What would happen if a Canadian family blew over its budget by 800 times? It would go bankrupt. What would happen if a private company executive blew over his budget by 800 times? He'd be fired. So why do we accept that Ottawa spends Canadian taxpayers' money like this with no concrete results? The families of Beauce deserve better, Mr. Speaker. Will the Liberals vote for our motion to permanently strike GC Strategies from the list? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, misconduct of any kind in our procurement process is completely unacceptable. That's why we are making changes to ensure the integrity of our system. We have made sure that GC Strategies has been terminated from all contracts, that they have been suspended, their security clearance has been suspended, and the investigation of OSIC has deemed them ineligible for any federal government contracts for 7 years. The matter has been referred to the RCMP and legal action is underway.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Fisheries Act, the Indian Act, the Navigable Waterways Act, the Official Languages Act, the Income Tax Act, the Labour Code, all the rules and regulations would, under C5, would allow the minister to arbitrarily suspend the operation of those acts. And doesn't our system at least deserve to be seriously studied in committee? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc leader knows full well we've just completed an election campaign where the Prime Minister and leader of our party asked Canadians for a clear mandate to accelerate projects of national interest. That's precisely what this bill before the House will provide for. However, it's not true to say that we will slacken our environmental assessments or our consultations with Indigenous peoples. We're going to do precisely what we said we would do. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. That's what the legislation says. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers, in my view, with all due respect, voted out of fear of the Conservatives' platform. Now the Liberal Party is taking the Conservative platform and implementing it. That is not why Quebecers voted for them. All of us here want to work. I assume we all do. We want to do our jobs seriously and completely. We want to look at how this is going to affect our system. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, you won't be surprised to hear that I don't agree with our friend from the Bloc. I don't agree that we took Conservative policy and made it our own. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, page 1 of our election platform, the very first page of our platform, talks about building one economy in Canada instead of 13. And it talks about being able to realize projects of national interest for the first time in a long time. And that's why so many other parties are in agreement with us. The Honourable Member for Gaspésie. Mr. Speaker, C5 gives the minister the power to put a gag on Parliament and bypass environmental assessments without consulting Quebecers. It allows for ministers. The Prime Minister has appointed ministers without mandate letters that clearly set out what needs to be done. So there's no debate here, no transparency, and as little accountability as possible. Do the Liberals actually think this is what Quebecers expect of a minority government?
Minister.
The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I find that our Bloc colleagues are missing our former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. I think it's important to point that out. So, on the contrary, Mr. Speaker, what we've put before Parliament is a bill that would allow the Government of Canada, in partnership with the provinces and territories and Indigenous peoples, it would allow us to build major projects that will move the Canadian economy forward. We're talking about important developments in renewable energies. That's what Canadians expect from this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General confirmed what we already knew. $64 million was handed to a two-person company with no proof of work done. No security clearances, no deliverables, no competition. This was about enriching Liberal insiders, not about serving Canadians. So, Speaker, I ask, will everyone in this House stand with taxpayers and vote for our Conservative motion to get Canadians their money back?
Not the Liberals. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we can all agree in this House that the integrity of our procurement processes is of utmost importance, and certainly taxpayers are owed some answers. This company has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is underway. We've also ensured that they can no longer enter into any contracts with the federal government for 7 years. Thank you.
A member for Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal way is the harder that you betray Canadians, the more your friends reward you.
Right.
The Auditor General laid out a staggering failure. 82% of GC Strategies contracts got no value for Canadian taxpayer money. Yet the Liberal ministers were all promoted under this new Liberal elitist Prime Minister. Canadians are paying the price for corruption while the insiders cash checks for doing nothing. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask, is this corruption the Liberal definition of merit-based appointments?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I'm happy to repeat it for my colleagues again. GC Strategies has been deemed ineligible by the Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance for any entering into contracts with the federal government. The matter has been referred to the RCMP and legal action is underway.
Sir, Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General confirmed that GC Strategies, just a two-person company, was paid $64 million by this Liberal government. In nearly half the cases, there's not even any proof that any work was done. Departments ignored the rules and approved payments without deliverables. That's not just mismanagement, it's a betrayal of taxpayers. Will the Liberal government finally do the right thing and support our Conservative motion to finally get their Canadians their money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, misconduct of any kind in our procurement process is completely unacceptable. We agree with members opposite. That's exactly why we've acted on this matter. We've conducted an investigation and assessment. The company in question has been deemed ineligible from any federal government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP for legal action.
The member for Surrey, Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, while the Liberals were stumbling around clueless, GC Strategies cashed in. The minister responsible weren't fired, they were promoted. Let that sink in. Failure led to reward.
That's terrible.
This is a pattern with these Liberals. Connected consultants profit, ministers fail upwards, and Canadians are left holding the bill. Why is it with these Liberals, the more you waste, the more you win, unless you're a Canadian taxpayer?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Misconduct of any kind in our procurement process is completely unacceptable. That's exactly why we have acted on this matter, ensured that there's an investigation. The company in question is no longer eligible to enter into contracts with the federal government, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP. Legal action is ongoing.
The member for St. Albert's, Surgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General found no proof of work in nearly half of the contracts awarded to GC Strategies. These Liberals gave millions to GC Strategies to do literally nothing. Taxpayers deserve a refund, and they deserve a refund now. So, will the Liberals support our Conservative motion to get taxpayers their money back, yes or no?
Good question.
Good question.
Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we agree, as I've said, that the integrity of our procurement process is of utmost importance to Canadians. That's exactly why we have deemed this company ineligible to enter into contracts for the next 7 years, and we've referred the matter to the RCMP. Legal action is ongoing.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, do you know what it's called when a company submits an invoice and accepts payment for work that wasn't done? It's called fraud. It's called theft. And under these Liberals, GC Strategies robbed taxpayers for millions.
Right.
Will the Liberals finally take responsibility and vote with Conservatives to get taxpayers their money back?
The honourable parliamentary secretary.
Of course, misconduct in our procurement process at any moment is completely unacceptable. That's exactly why our government has acted on this matter. We've done so responsibly. We've ensured the integrity of the system. We've ensured this company can no longer do any business with the federal government for 7 years. The matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing.
The honourable member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, since yesterday we've heard the government trying to offer us half-baked solutions to a problem that has cost taxpayers dearly, ArriveCan. But it seems to have become a habit on the Liberal side to start fires, try to put them out, and then pat themselves on the back for failing. The latest example is the $60 million in public money given to GC Strategies, a two-person basement operation. Will the government support our motion to ban GC Strategies for life and demand Canadians get their money back? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker.
Great to rise again and answer this question. Obviously, I've done so numerous times in this question period, and I'm happy to do so continuously for the remaining time that we have together today. GC Strategies is no longer able to enter into government contracts for up to 7 years. That's an investigation that we triggered, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers did not give the Liberals a blank check when they elected a minority government. But that's what the Liberals are asking for today by preventing debate on C5. They want a blank check to govern by order in council and decide everything when it comes to energy projects. A blank check to impose pipelines on Quebecers without their consent and without a serious environmental assessment. What's more, they want a blank check to pass it without debate and without study. Will they respect Quebecers and let Parliament do its job? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what we heard from Quebecers was their confidence in 44 Liberal members here in the House who speak out loud for Quebec and every day reflect the urgency, the urgent need for action on the economy and on promising projects of national interest that will create jobs from coast to coast, one economy instead of 13. Let's go, Canada. The honourable member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Bill C5, which the government is trying to ram through, is an insult to Indigenous peoples. The Liberals want to give themselves the power to decide everything by order in council when it comes to energy projects. They will approve projects first in Ottawa, and only then, when the decision is final and irreversible, will they pretend to consult Indigenous peoples. This is a sham, Mr. Speaker, which directly contravenes Indigenous peoples' right to self-determination, territorial sovereignty, and reconciliation. Will the Liberals back down and respect First Nations and enter into a real dialogue with them?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Indigenous leaders across the country, their voices matter. That's why we're investing in real consultation with $40 million to support Indigenous engagement, in addition to establishing an Indigenous Advisory Council. This legislation will be an economic game changer for Indigenous peoples.
The honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
The Prime Minister says he wants to build, baby, build, but he can't even get the BC NDP to build Canadian ships for Canadian taxpayers in Canada. Instead, this Liberal government is letting BC Ferries send good-paying union jobs to a Chinese shipyard, even as China punishes our exporters with tariffs. Shame. What happened to elbows up? How is this Liberal government going to build one economy out of 13 if it can't even convince BC to support Canadian steel, Canadian infrastructure, and Canadian workers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I share the opposition's concern regarding the procurement practices across all levels of government, especially at a time when Canadian workers are battered by tariffs from China and the United States. But now more than ever, we must support Canadian workers and industries while also working in close partnership with our allies and trading partners. Of note, Mr. Speaker, this particular project was not undertaken by the federal government. BC Ferries is entirely under provincial jurisdiction.
The member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, this government might like to put its head in the sand, but Canadian workers are struggling and China is deliberately targeting them. Canadian canola, seafood, and pork have all been hit with punishing tariffs. This government is standing by while a critical infrastructure contract goes to a Chinese state enterprise. Shameful. China uses trade as a weapon and detains our citizens. Is this the Liberals' economic strategy? Let China take our jobs, jail Canadians, and punish our exporters while Canadian industries get left out in the cold?
Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, through you, thanks for the question. Number one, we have an important legislation, the One Canadian Economy Act, that is going to be focusing on creating one economy out of 13, which is Canadian goods, Canadian services, mobility, people working across the country with very little restrictions, reducing trade barriers. So when it comes to this government, Mr. Speaker, it's Canada first, always.
Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of good-paying Canadian jobs were lost this week when BC Ferries announced the purchase of 4 new ships, not from shipyards here in Canada, but from shipyards owned by the Chinese Communist Party. This despite BC Ferries receiving more than $36 million in taxpayer money from this Liberal government, taxpayer money that is now subsidizing jobs in China, a country that has kidnapped Canadian citizens and has unjustly tariffed our farmers and our fishermen. Will this Liberals government stop pretending they're helpless, show leadership, and demand these ships are built in the best country in the world, right here in Canada?
Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I share the concern and I share the outrage. The reality is that this particular project, again, is under provincial procurement standards, regulations, and oversight. But I will tell you this, when it comes to this federal government, to everyone in this chamber, it is going to be Canadian first, always.
A member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, no pipelines means no jobs for hardworking employees at Evraz Steel in Regina. My question is, how can these Liberals get pipelines built if they're looking for consensus? What does consensus mean, Mr. Speaker? And will they use Canadian steel to build these pipelines?
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and 13 premiers got together. They agreed on 5 criteria to get projects of national interest built. If the honourable member across the aisle wants to get people working in Saskatchewan, he should support the One Canadian Economy Bill.
Member for Regina Louvain.
Can you imagine driving to work every day, wondering if that's the day you're going to get a layoff? For 10 years, these Liberals have had anti-development policies like Bill C-69, Bill C-48, emissions cap, and the industrial carbon tax. These hardworking men and women deserve a lot better answer than that. Will this government be like the old government? New guy, same as the old guy. No pipelines. Pipelines deserve to be built in this country. They run our economy. Will they use Canadian steel and pipelines?
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, if the honourable member wants to get people working again, the One Canadian Economy Act is designed to get projects of national interest built. That will get steel workers back to work. That will get aluminum workers back to work. That will get forest products industries back to work. Please support the bill.
The honourable member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, this week the Prime Minister announced that Canada's new government is rebuilding, rearming, and reinvesting in the Canadian Armed Forces. And with this increase in defence investment, Canada will achieve NATO's 2% target. Canada will lead with values the world respects, the resources the world wants, and an economy that leads the G7. Can the President of the Treasury Board share with the House why these investments are so important?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, I want to welcome the member from Prescott Russell, Cumberland, to the House of Commons. This new government has done what Conservative never could. We now have a plan to meet our NATO 2% commitment half a decade earlier than scheduled. We promised Canadians that new Liberal government would take bold and decisive actions. Promise made and promise kept, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Economists and bankers, most bankers that is, know that investment goes to countries where they are welcomed. For 10 years, this Liberal government has sent clear messages that investment in oil pipelines are not welcome in Canada unless it's destined for the United States at a discount. What's next? Canada's mineral resources? Surely the Prime Minister knows that no one is building a pipeline in Canada with Liberal anti-energy laws on the books. Or is it the Prime Minister's plan to keep Canadian oil and gas in the ground?
Good question.
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, in Saskatoon, the Prime Minister and 13 premiers got together to talk about how we build projects of national interest. Those projects of national interest will include roads, highway pipelines. They will include transmission lines. They will include renewable resources. If the honourable members on the other side of the House want to see many projects built, they should support this bill.
Member for Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Diversifying our trade has been the goal of this Liberal government, but an article posted last night by The Economist states that the United States will be granted first rights of refusal on Canadian minerals. Before going to Washington, Mr. Carney asked officials to list the Canadian products that Mr. Trump needs the most. Rare earth elements and critical minerals top that list. It looks like the Liberals want to give first rights of refusal to our critical minerals, limiting our ability to sell to the world and diversify our economy. Is the Prime Minister negotiating guaranteed access to Canada's minerals to the United States?
Order. Order. Just a reminder not to use members' proper names. The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, mining is crucial to our economy, and with Canada facing American tariffs, we must support mining workers. That's why we will speed up permitting of new mines by cutting red tape and approving projects within 2 years. This will be in Canada's national interest. This will make Canada stronger. This will make us more sovereign.
Member for Portage Lisgar.
The Liberals have flip-flopped on pipelines more than a fish out of water. The Prime Minister claims he wants to make Canada an energy superpower, but Mr. Speaker, talk is cheap. If he's serious, he must repeal a decade's worth of Liberals' anti-energy laws. The No New Pipelines Act? Toss it. The shipping ban? Send it out to sea. The job-killing oil and gas production cap? Scrap it. And the industrial carbon tax? Kick it to the curb. When will the Prime Minister realize that we will never get a new pipeline built in this country without repealing these disastrous Liberal anti-energy laws?
Hear, hear.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been clear, and we have been clear, that to be an energy superpower, we need to make sure that we are low risk, low cost, and low carbon. What we have seen from the Conservatives when they were in government was that they didn't get projects built because they didn't do environmental assessments and they did not consult with Indigenous peoples. So if they want to see things built and built properly, I hope that they will support us in working on national interest projects that support our country.
The member for Portage Lisgar.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that sounds a lot like that cheap talk that I mentioned. The Prime Minister said he will support a pipeline if there's consensus. But his Environment Minister is spinning an entirely different story. This week I asked her point blank to define consensus, and she shrugged her shoulders and said, "What consensus?" Well, I'm happy to tell the Minister what it means. Polling shows that 3/4 of Canadians support an east-west pipeline, with premiers also backing the idea. So if that's not consensus, what is? Will the Prime Minister set the record straight and define consensus for Canadians and tell us who, if anyone, holds a veto over a new pipeline project?
The Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, if he would like to remember the conversation on Monday evening, he'll remember what I actually said, which was that we saw an amazing moment of Canadians coming together, premiers and our Prime Minister, all talking about how we can do what Canadians have asked us to do, which is to build a strong Canada. The division that we see is from the Conservatives. We're going to work in favour of what Canadians want to see, which is to build a strong, united, sovereign Canada.
That's right. Member for Terra Nova, the Peninsulas. Mr. Speaker, because of this government's economic failures, Newfoundland and Labrador is once again dependent on equalization payments from the West. And Newfoundland's employment has been entangled with the West for decades. So we understand that when the West does better, all Canada does better. But in order for the West to succeed, they need to get their resources to market. Now, Mr. Speaker, will this Liberal government repeal C-69 that stops new pipelines, repeal C-48 that blocks our shipping exports, and remove production caps so all of Canada can prosper?
Minister of the Fisheries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to echo again what so many of my colleagues have said today. We are focused on building the economy in Canada, of working with premiers and provinces and territories, building a strong Canada so provinces like mine and the member opposite, Newfoundland and Labrador, who is rich in natural resources, will be part of these projects that we will get built in record time and will benefit everyone in this country.
Member for Cariboo, Prince George.
After a decade of failed drug policies, increasing deaths, and revolving door prisons, these soft-on-crime Liberals still don't get it. Another drug bust in Williams Lake has resulted in a repeat offender being caught with so-called safe supply, arrested in the morning and released the very same day. If the minister won't take them off the street for good, will he at least stop giving them free drugs to sell?
Question. Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. President, the Strong Borders Act will combat organised crime, protect the integrity of our immigration system, equip law enforcement with the tools they need to strengthen our border. And Bill C-2 is also contributing to our crackdown on fentanyl trafficking with important measures to support law enforcement, such as improving interagency intelligence sharing and empowering law enforcement to intercept and search shipments suspected of smuggling illegal drugs.
Member for Cariboo, Prince George.
Tyler Dunlop, 17. Sydney McIntyre Starco, 18. Evelina Baldelli, 16. Camilla Sward, 14. Elliot Yurchuk, 16. Mathis Boyven, 15. Darian Clayton Fleet, 18. Nakia Sugar, 15. Catherine McParland, 19. Logan Williams, 16. Chayton Point, 13. Brianna McDonald, 13. The leading cause of death for youth in my province of British Columbia is overdose. Kids. And they're dying. If this isn't a crisis, what is?
Parliamentary Secretary, Secretary of State, combating crime.
I want to thank the honourable member for the question. Canada's new government takes this incredibly seriously. The fact of the matter is the global rise of fentanyl has torn through our communities and our families. That's why this government has committed to hiring 1,000 new CBSA workers and 1,000 new RCMP personnel to take the fight to the bad guys. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for King Vaughan.
Speaker, auto thefts are up 46%. Violent crime is up 50%. And just yesterday, York Region Police arrested 4 suspects in a violent auto theft in Vaughan, where 2 of them were repeat offenders. This is the result of failed Liberal laws like Bill C-5 and C-75. Even the Mayor of Vaughan and the Chief of York Region Police are calling for an end to catch and release madness. Would any Liberal who thinks this is acceptable kindly explain this to the residents of King Vaughan?
The Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker. Look, the fact of the matter is this new government is committed to, like I said in the previous question, taking the fight to the bad guys. We are committed to hiring 1,000 new CBSA workers and 1,000 new RCMP personnel. This comes back to the Strong Borders Act, and I expect the honourable member to support us in making sure that the police services have access to the resources they need.
A member for Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has been 5 years since the Liberal government pushed through their order in council targeting responsible firearms owners with a confiscation scheme. 0 individuals have had their firearms bought back, yet gun crimes have gone up 116%. As a person with an RPAL, which, by the way, is restricted possession and acquisition, if the minister still doesn't know, the statistics baffle me. Why won't this Liberal government focus on criminals, make our streets safe, and leave our responsible firearms owners alone?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the gun buyback program is a serious program to ensure the safety of our communities. Already, 12,000 firearms have been bought back and 10,000 have been destroyed. The buyback program provides fair compensation to businesses and will soon provide it to firearm owners. We will soon be meeting with people from the RCMP Firearm Warehouse for further discussions, and we will seek to understand concerns surrounding the program. The Honourable Member for Mont Saint Bruno-Lacadie. Mr. Speaker, people in my riding of Mont Saint Bruno-Lacadie often speak with me about the importance of protecting Canada in a world that is increasingly dangerous. From the west to the east, to the north and, of course, in Quebec, we all must respond to the international situation and build Canada strong. Could the Minister of National Defence describe to this House the new investments that the government is making in defence? Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my colleague from Mont Saint Bruno-Lacadie for his hard work. Our government has just revealed a plan to rebuild, re-equip, and reinvest in our Canadian Armed Forces. The Prime Minister has announced a generational of investment of over $9 billion. This means that we will reach the 2% NATO target this fiscal year. When it comes to something as important as Canadian defence and security, Canadians can count on their new government.
Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
After 10 years of these tired old Liberals, the cost of housing has doubled, putting the dream of ever owning a home out of reach for so many Canadians. But it has also aggravated the homelessness crisis, which, incidentally, the current housing minister, when he was mayor of Vancouver, said he would eliminate. Well, today, with 28,000 British Columbians without secure housing, many living on the streets, will the minister acknowledge that 10 years of big spending announcements and photo ops has failed to deliver real results for Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I joined this government because we have a credible plan for affordable housing.
Hear, hear.
We are building on the past success of this government in that regard. Our first measure includes a cut to the GST for new homeowners. We're also looking to launch Build Canada Homes, and we'll be working alongside our municipalities to decrease development charges while making sure that municipalities remain whole.
Hear, hear. Member of Central Newfoundland.
Fishermen and farmers feed families. This season, Chinese tariffs on harvests from the land and the sea are impacting livelihoods of those that depend on markets in China. These tariffs are a direct result of this Liberal government's bungling of trade relations with China. Tariffs that range from 25% on lobsters to 100% on canola. My question to the Minister of International Trade is, when can farmers and fishermen expect this Liberal government to fix the mess they've made so they can get relief from Chinese tariffs?
Minister for International Trade.
At all times defend our national interests and the best interests of Canadians. Last week, I sat down with the Minister of Commerce for China, Minister Wong, to talk about some of these issues that we're working through, whether it's canola, beef, pet food. These are some of the issues that came up at the table. We agreed to launch the JETSI Commission, which is the Joint Economic Trade Committee, to work through some of these issues because we know we need to continue to open new markets for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Central Newfoundland.
Mr. Speaker, it's time for that minister to go to sea in a gale of wind on a fishing boat or get some dirt under his nails on a farm with our hard-working farmers. Clearly, there's no respect for those that toil to feed their families and everybody else's family and to play such a crucial role in food security for Canada. Amen. So will the minister get relief from Chinese tariffs, or are fishermen and farmers just collateral damage in a trade war that these Liberals don't know how to fight.
The Honourable Minister for International Trade. The Honourable Minister for Fisheries.
I would like to say once again to my colleague across the aisle, repeat of what was said in the last question. The fact is that Canada is working to protect workers, and rather than slogans and misinformation and just negativity, we are actually doing the work of opening dialogue actively on the ground to ensure that the workers in Canada are protected. We will have Canadians back.
Member for Mississauga Centre.
This new government is working to build new economic and security relationships. One of the most important sectors of economic and export potential is defense. Earlier this week, the Prime Minister announced a $9.3 billion investment. This is a generational investment and will create thousands of jobs. As part of this new government's plan to expand into new export markets, can the Minister of International Trade tell this House how he plans to help diversify defense and trade?
Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, through you, I want to thank the honourable member from Mississauga Centre for that question and congratulate him on his recent election win. I recently attended CANSEC, Canada's largest defence trade show, and it had over 40 international delegations present. It was an opportunity for me to meet with industry leaders, connect with international delegations, and see world-class innovation firsthand. Mr. Speaker, this industry supports over 200,000 jobs in communities across the country, in Mississauga, in Brampton, across many others, including Halifax. We have what the world needs, and I look forward to showcasing Canada's aerospace and defence companies in global markets to grow exports and create jobs here at home.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Physical activity is recognized by virtually every major medical association as a primary way to prevent and cure many of the chronic diseases affecting our society, like cancer, heart disease, lung disease, and diabetes. Our country is more sedentary than ever before, our youth are moving less and less, and hospitals everywhere are struggling. How will the government show leadership on the physical activity file to invest in prevention rather than simply waiting to cure? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, prevention is very important for Canadians, and we will work in collaboration with the healthcare sector to make a difference through sport. I'm proud of all we have accomplished so far, and I walk 8.2 kilometers a day, so I can set an example.
East. Prime Minister and Pierre Poilievre both want to roll out the red carpet for Prime Minister Modi to attend the G7 summit in Canada, knowing that Modi refused to cooperate with the RCMP in the investigation of the murder of Niger and other homicides on Canadian soil. The Prime Minister won't say if he knew Jagmeet Singh's life was in danger and was under surveillance by gang members suspected of working for the Indian government. Poilievre's excuse is that he refused to get the security clearance, but the Prime Minister has none. Will the Prime Minister rescind the invitation and demand India's full cooperation in the Niger murder and other cases?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for that question. She has raised several issues at the same time. Let me just say that the G7 is a huge opportunity for Canada to exercise leadership on the world stage. Our sovereignty, our security and prosperity are tied to global security. At the same time, Canada is a country of the rule of law. We have cases before the RCMP. We will continue to have those investigations. We will continue to ensure that Canadians are safe at home and abroad.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Israel has bombed dozens of sites in Iran, including residential homes, causing hundreds of casualties, including children. Netanyahu is leading the region into yet another war where civilians will pay the price. Canadians with loved ones throughout the Middle East are terrified of what comes next. We need de-escalation, diplomacy, and rule of law. Will Canada condemn this latest escalation, finally commit to real nuclear disarmament, or will they stand with the Conservatives against international law?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I thank the honourable member for the question. However, I begin by saying Israel has the right absolutely to defend itself within the bounds of international law. At the same time, At the very same time, we have a responsibility to de-escalate this situation. Our minister has been very clear that this escalation will not help. We have several priorities. We want to ensure that hostages are released. We want to ensure humanitarian aid is delivered. We want an immediate ceasefire. Canada will exercise every diplomatic tool we have to ensure that peace is our ability is brought to a fore.
And that concludes question period for today.